Hi, welcome everybody. I'm here with Patty Elvey, and Patty is a very long-standing friend of mine. So thank you so much for joining me today.
It's good to be here.
So I'm going to start with your bio, and then we're going to get into the conversation of why I invited you to be with us today. Patty Elvey is a dedicated student of life, using every experience for learning and greater awareness. Her 40 plus years working with thought leaders and corporate visionaries spanning the industries of legal, tech, quantum, AI, media, and healthcare provides the foundation for her work uniting clients' professional goals with her personal passion. Patty's uniquely holistic approach uncovers strength and builds a roadmap for achieving their unrealized dreams. In her debut book, Practicing the Art of Becoming, Patty shares personal insight that inspired and ignited her journey of becoming. A longtime resident of Menlo Park, California, Patty now enjoys splitting her time between the East and West Coast. Welcome, welcome, Patty.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always great to see you, but it's wonderful to be here today.
Indeed, it is. And so, we were just talking about how that we've really known each other for a really long time, and that you were part of my spiritual journey in the very, very beginning. And so it's really nice to come back around. It's been, 35 years or so, and share with my audience what you're all about and what you're up to. So you recently wrote a book, and it's come out, and I'd love for you just to talk. Yes, there it is, Practicing the Art of Becoming. And I'd love for you to start with this, with the process, or wherever you want to start with.
So, thank you. And it's always interesting to figure out where to start. My truth is, I came in as a brand new person, curious, and looking around and looking for purpose in every single thing. For some odd reason, I was that kind of a kid. I
Mm.
don't know that I've ever found purpose in anything except that I keep on going. And my journey has been one that I just wanted to share, because there's a journey of learning, a journey of experiencing, a journey of questioning. One of the people I used to work with was George Carlin. And one of the things that he said is question everything. And he said, tell your kids, don't say, why are you asking that? Stop asking questions, like question everything. And I think I came in that way. My environment didn't promote that. It did not support that. It didn't reflect that, but it was inside me. So I think that the ultimate big picture foundation is, in the message to the world, is find out what's inside you and learn from that, grow that, experience that, expand that. And a lot can be learned, decided, accomplished, shared, delivered in all kinds of areas. Growth in leadership is something that I really admire, appreciate. And I think as leaders find out more about what's really going on in the depths of their interests, of their passions, of their destiny, of their divine purpose in life, they'll be even better leaders, better teachers, and better learners, because we are both at all times in this life.
So are you saying that the book is a result of you being curious, you becoming a better listener, observing?
I think it is meant to be a demonstration of what living life is like for that. And I've learned many things. I've invested in learning so many things from wonderful teachers in my career and in my life. My purpose was to learn and grow. And then there's a philosophy that I picked up along the way, which is use everything for your advancement, upliftment, learning, growth, expansion, freedom, liberation. And liberation is where I want to be today in this conversation, and that in the big picture of life, like what a concept to have some sort of connection with that freedom of no boundaries and no withholds, no deceptions that are mine. So that's liberation to me. And so I wanted to write a book sharing my journey that incorporated that helped me learn that it gets in the way of that, because I love words. I love communicating. I love the language. And I was just interested in writing since I was young. I thought what I was seeing, I wanted to put it out there. And it took me a long time. I thought I was going to write this book when I moved to California in 1997. I thought that's why I moved to California. I'm going to live in Ohio. It's going to be a perfect environment for me. And like, yeah, life was not that. And so it was 30 years later, that is it really 30 years that I finally sat down and wrote the book. And the life that happened in that period was extraordinary. The learning, the lessons. And it's like I realized that Spirit was saying, no, you have so much more adventure in front of you, experience in front of you, that really did modify what I would have written 30 years ago in the ways. So the wisdom that came forward, maybe because I had the intention so clear from that early time, made it very easy. I wrote this book in just a few months. But it's easy. It was easy to write because there was no research. It's like my story. So I didn't have to go and do some aspect of proving with research and evidence. It's more of a sharing. So it's an easy read. It sort of just flows. You can read chapters here and there. They don't have to be read in the story. It's independent lessons that I learned, and I want to share in case there's something there for someone else to experience or recognize that there's useful information there.
Let's take a quick break. I want to remind you that if you're interested in learning more about neuro-emotional coaching or kinesiology, if you would like to have a taste, find out what it could do for you or your business, your family, please look at the show notes. There's a link for a 30-minute free introductory meeting, and we can explore it. You can look at what is holding you back. What are your dreams? What is it that you always wanted to achieve? Don't be shy. Sign up. Now, let's get back to the show. Can you share maybe just a little bit, and I know this wouldn't do justice, like a little mini story from what you share in the book?
Oh, sure. I can share any. One of the things, there's a subtitle, it's called Embracing Risk and Discovering Your Authentic Being. And, originally I was going to call the book Risk. And then my publishers said some people might be put off by that because they're not willing to look at risk. But the becoming was my original byline. So they flipped it. And it's a very powerful thing because it helped me as well, and helps me in my moving into the next book and talking about it. So one of the things that's one of my easy favorite stories about one of the chapters is the power of affirmations. And for me, that was even a hard one to write at one point because I remembered my first experience with affirmations. And, I think I was 40 years old or 35 or 40. And here we are, we're sitting in a room and it's like 4 or 5 days into the training. And it's a really pivotal part. And you get an assignment from a facilitator. And it says, we're going to create these statements. They're called I am statements. And, pick some positive words, and they give us the instructions, some action words, and it's going to be something that you claim, something you're growing into, something to direct you forward. I sat in that room the entire time and couldn't come up with a word. I mean, and I was terrorized. And I say, it's like, if I wasn't frozen, I would have run out of the room and not come back, because I could not think of a single positive word to claim in my life as an I am. And I had a very powerful career. I had I had lots of friends, I was active, a lot of things, but for me to claim something personally, it's like, I'd say, oh, you're this or you're that. It's like, yeah, that was like talking to a wall. But for me to have to come forward in this frequency of everybody else being so excited and hearing people scream and jump up, it's like, I'm like, oh my God, there's nothing I can say. There's nothing I can say. And I was weeping, and I left the room with nothing. I had to come back in the morning, and I promised I would come back, and I had to have it in the morning or I wouldn't be able to participate. The only thing I could come up with was I am alive. That was like insanely, when I reflect back, it was like, thank God I found something. But it really helped me understand it opens something for me of like, I'm going to have to find a way to do better. Now, that particular affirmation and what we did for the following couple of days in this training were extraordinary, beautiful. And something it did open and awaken in me. Even on, that was a Saturday. So on Sunday, they had an exercise where we actually, left the room and we went out in public for a while and then came back to talk about it. And I had an experience I never had before, because just being able to say, I'm alive, it makes me almost emotional now. I mean, what a rich moment. And it was such a simple moment, but I had to take the risk into becoming something more authentic and claim it for myself with no holds barred. And nobody could make me do it or take it away from me. And that was one of the most powerful things. And I use affirmations all the time. I have one now that's probably going to last a long time. But I write about it. I say, if you want to find out what it is, come to my website. But I did share it in another podcast that's out there on YouTube. But the thing is, they've supported me. And the power of affirmations is a story that I think is really important. Even if I'm going to have a good day today. All these ways that words matter, especially when it's an I am word. And to learn what it means to say I am. And that helps with some of the other chapters, like why do people lie? What about forgiveness? Like this I am is a powerful, powerful, powerful aspect of humanity.
How beautiful. There's so many things I can say, and I smile because, I think it was at that day that you were outside the training that I took when I struggled with that, with that very same exercise. It's so hard because I think we think it's authentic for us to be small. We think, or we have such strong experiences where it's like we really believe that our limitations is all that there is, and so I remember I was struggling too, and I was, in a pretzel about, oh my God, how am I going to ever be able to come up with these, with this 50 positive qualities? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so, and here we are, and, just whether it's with your book or however the opportunity presents itself to move more and more into being authentic. And then, the gift of somebody like yourself, then, to share with us this different stories of like, this is how I did it. And this is how maybe another layer came off and another and another and another. And I think the whole process is probably going to be over when, who knows, is this process ever going to be over of becoming and being more?
That's absolutely the truth.
Probably.
I'm going to have 4 books because there's smaller bites is easier. It's like you can't sort of I can't put it all out there because it's been the story of my 40 years, because I started making it intentional 40 years ago with these trainings and with my stepping into personal awareness arena of saying, I want to have some accountability to myself in my life. And that's what they started for me. That was why I chose this particular path. And so it's a nonstop thing. I mean, last breath, I will become something else. But up until then, it's for me to keep practicing and up leveling. On my website, it's up level your clarity, up level your life, and it's that intention, the affirmation. There's always an opportunity to up level. Like in your clear intentions, it's like that's Barbara. I know Barbara. It's like that was like the perfect way for you to express, because we know what that we know what that does for us. And
we do.
Yeah. So
I was somebody was leaving me a voice message today, and she's like, well, if by chance or something like that you'll find XYZ, and I'm like, and I was left the voice message back, and I said that there is no such a, I mean, I don't really believe in there's a chance. It's like we intend it. We start to be intentional about what is it that we want, and we don't need to know how to do it or get it or whatever. It's just sort of like a little seed that I will water, and then I will open up, and all of a sudden it's like in neuroscience it talks about all that, how that then comes into our into our energy field.
Yes. And the other
So,
thing is the impeccability of the intention, the
mm,
authentic impeccability, honesty. Like honesty is huge in all of us becoming. The more honest we are with how we're learning about ourselves, what we know, what's true for us, not hedging our bets, so to speak, makes a big difference with in manifesting a clear intention. It comes from that place of impeccability. I have found and discovered it's more likely to show up in a way that I see it, and maybe even sooner than I would have thought.
say something more about that, because I think that's an interesting concept. Because when maybe I don't even know what's honest. So how do I,
Oh, that's interesting.
how do I deal with that? So maybe I thought I was honest,
Well,
but let's talk
well,
about that a little bit more.
well, the way my spiritual teacher talked about honestly honest, one with what is.
Hmm.
And so for me, to be honest is to seek for what is true for me in this moment. How honest can I be to say, am I pretending? Am I checking out? Am I denying? Am I withholding? When am I gonna pull it's like the Wizard of Oz, like when am I gonna pull the curtain and really step out? And the more I found myself stepping out, saying it's okay for me to be in an environment where maybe I'm judged, where that at one point in time would make me shrink, stay in the background. So writing this book was a big deal because I'm out in the world. I've been a background person. So what had to become more honest for me was put it out there. You've wanted to, you said you would, you know how, you have support from just my integrity supports me in writing the book. And it was very different than I thought it was going to be. I did not know it was going to be my story. I thought it was going to be a teaching thing, but it wasn't. It was really just me sharing what's true for me. So there was honesty here that was a huge risk. But the more I find myself not hiding, not denying, being as honest as I can be, even if it's scary, which it is a lot, it's scary to be honest sometimes. But there's a freedom that I discover in finding my way. And honesty for me, it comes from inside. It's my heartfelt knowing. It's my soulful trust. It's my intuition that is unbridled. Intuition, it's unbridled. So those things help me stand in my honesty when I speak, when I write, when I make decisions about things. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And there's a couple of takeaways that I have. And one of the takeaways would be to sacrifice whatever's in the way then to be one with or be honest, whether that's discomfort or, somebody's going to point the finger or, you're going to be your fear of being excluded or, because it's not about perfection. It's just about, this is what's so for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sharing that and sacrificing whatever is in between that. And, but also to have compassion because, we are on a continuum. And so some days I might be able to do it. Today I was, we had language class and somebody was make a comment about not pushing one group of people all in one camp. They were saying, don't put all the religious people in the same camp because that wasn't fair. And then I raised my hand and I said, well, please don't put all the Arabs in the same camp either, because this is what's been happening. And not don't put any kind of group in all one camp because not all women or men or Arabs or lesbians or whatever are the same. And people heard that for a second, but then of course, it wasn't so well received, but I sacrificed my whatever. And, if I would go with what your definition is, I was one with what is. and I was honest about what I felt was important to say.
Yes.
Um,
It was authentic. You took a risk.
Authentic. I took a risk. It was authentic.
Yep.
And
you have no regret, hopefully. It's like
I have no regret.
in spite of their response, anybody's response. And I have to say, there is another little tiny piece for me that's true. And when it comes to being honest, there's an element for me that I experience is just because it's very clear to me, the honest reaction, response, not reactions, it's not really more response or participation in any given moment can be to say nothing. Just because we know doesn't always mean it's the right time in the right environment, and it doesn't need to be necessary, because some of the gift is the awareness, because that awareness can be enough to say, I see what's going on. I can see a solution, and I can see that it's not the time for them to receive the solution that I'm aware of, but that brings that compassion in. So you sort of share something energetically of just this compassion, a different language, but it's easy. It's more authentic from me and more honest from me, because even though there's more knowing behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right. Silence is golden. It can be.
It certainly can. It can be appropriate for sure. It can be appropriate for sure. And there can be a lot communicated in silence. And that maintains an integrity for myself personally. It's like my integrity here stands in not being, whether it's a teacher or a participant in that way, they don't need to know this, but it's okay in my integrity that I see what's happening, or I feel what's happening. I'm aware of what's happening here. So maybe there'll be a step down the line of sharing something, but it's not appropriate now. And that's honest. That's not dishonest. That's actually being integrous and honest, I think.
Yeah, I get that.
For growth as well.
So, how's it going with the book?
The book was designed by design and to have its own journey. For the time that I wrote it, I just felt there was, first of all, I felt like I was ordered to write it. There were different signs and different funny things that came from, like, now is the time. And then it was like, well, why? What's going to happen here? And it's like, it could be something that is on a bookshelf and somebody walks by and that's all they need to do. Someone else might pick it up and put it on their nightstand and then never read it. Someone else might read it that first day and it's out on audio and listen to it and, talk about it and share it. So there's all kinds of interesting ways. That to me is how the book's going. It's getting out in the world. And I know it's meant to get to people that are meant to have it. I think it's doing better than my publisher might have thought it would. I had a sort of a goal, a wish for it to sell out by New Year's, but that was just 3 months. I mean, at this point, it's only been out for 3 months. So that was probably a high goal. But I'm really happy with the feedback that I'm getting. I'm happy that we're in a new year and I'm talking to you and I get to share it this way. That's just extraordinary for me. And it makes me stronger too, because I'm able to talk about it. Again, I've been a hider my whole life. I've been behind the scenes with miraculous things going on around me that I participated in with business and corporate and personal. And, I know the tragedies and I know the excitements, but I've always done it from like under the table, behind the curtain. I'll be in the car and everybody else is out there. It's very, very funny, but it's interesting to do book events and do book signings and have fun. I'm actually having fun. So that's
Yay!
I am having fun. Yeah, it's not my MO, but I'm actually a fun person, way more than people realize.
No, I think you're a fun person
in small groups. Yeah.
Oh, you're a fun person. I mean, you've had to take care of some really, I don't know what I want to say important, but important. But
call them VIP. I mean,
they're very, and so it's a whole different thing. Yeah. It's like, so now that the book is out and you are doing lots of things to promote it, and you just said you're going to write 4 books or 3 more.
3 more on this topic. Yeah, one of them's half done. One of them will be done by the end of the month. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you already started on it. What have you learned from this first go around?
Well, I learned how to write a book, which is I know I can help people write books. That's something I thought this is a new skill. I mean, I really had very clear awareness of finding out the process, and it worked very well. So I found a publisher. We did our first go round. I started writing the book. They gave me timelines, and I met every deadline. I had sort of an outline of. I picked 40 chapters. I kept saying, what could I write about? What could I write about? So I just made chapter titles out of them. And there was 40 that I landed. I stopped asking. And so from that, it developed into a book of, 13 chapters, I think it is. I got somebody to write a foreword for me that was extraordinary because it was a very good friend. And so I learned how to write a book. I learned the process of publishing, which is very interesting. And there's a lot of, I don't get a vote, which isn't my favorite thing. There's a process with publishing. And I found that the best way for me to do it was a hybrid publisher. And so, because I did not want to self-publish, the publisher that I picked was somebody who partners with Simon & Schuster, which was extraordinary. So it's distributed through Simon & Schuster. In addition to other places. So that was great. I worked with brilliant people. Most of them were women that all had left publishing and they started their own thing. So there was tons of experience. I did my own audiobook, so that whole studio process. So there's so much information. There's so many steps. The design of a cover, oh my God, that was really, really intense. And yet we landed exactly where I wanted to be. And it was a lot of support, a lot of expertise. Where do I trust theirs? Where do they allow me to have creative ability? So it's a very, very beautiful process, creating a book. And then the writing of it was the easiest part. The writing was the easiest part. And meeting those deadlines, they really helped me, because once I knew, I said, like, I'll do these, I'll give you 4 more chapters on this date. It's like, yep, it was done every single time. And I was thrilled about that. And then the editing process, again, is very beautiful. And I never expected that, how it works with editing. And when somebody says, but if I'm a reader, because I don't know you, and you wrote this out, this one is confusing. I can't figure out what you're trying to say here. It's like, okay, so and so that was a very powerful process. And it helped me realize I don't always know how to say it the best else, which was very, very insightful for me. It's like, okay, another way to say it. And so I was able to do that and to look at the through line. And this idea of practicing the art of becoming was an add-on. So it's now created a way that I use that in my coaching. I use that in the work that I do individually with leaders, because there is, what are you becoming in this company today? Like, what do you want them to become? I mean, and if you listen in the world, I mean, people have come to me and said, there's so many people using that word. And like, and maybe it was out there before, but none of us heard it so much. But I do think we're in an era of stepping forward and stepping up and standing up into a becoming that's a more authentic, purer opportunity. And so it's showing up everywhere. But, what do I don't know. What I'd like to get out of it is, again, conversations. I love conversations. So if it can open conversations, if it can support somebody in any way. I've gotten some feedback about the chapter on why do people lie. And it was a hard one to write, but it seems to have been really, really moving people and in ways that have been of service to them. So I think that's the other thing. If there can be of service in any way, that's very,
it's good.
Yeah.
I can think of a million reasons why people lie.
Yeah, but people don't think about that. They just do it.
They do it.
So whenever you start to look at that in whatever way, because what's interesting, the feedback I've gotten has been extremely different, but all powerful. So it's that question is unique for everybody.
Well, because as you read it, so immediately what comes up for me is like, do I lie? When do I lie? How do I lie? So as the reader, it confronts you, hopefully, to first look at yourself, or maybe not first, but to look at your own way of handling this whole process.
Yeah.
And then, how does that impact you when somebody lies to you?
Yes.
And it was I was driving today, and I have this habit of, telling myself a little story around what true confession here on YouTube. What fruit is okay to pick and what fruit is not okay to pick. I live around every kind of, citrus that you can imagine. So, and I just recently decided, come on, stop lying to yourself about it. If you pick up some orange from, even though if it's not your tree and you didn't get permission from that person, it's not okay. So either purchase the fruit or get permission, and it's like a way of catching myself in my own lie. And it doesn't matter that a lot of people do it and it's okay. And they're probably going to, there's a thousand things I can tell myself. Oh, they're not going to pick it. And mostly all true. But at the end, I took something from somebody that's not mine without permission.
Right.
So it's very confrontive. And I can see where people would get lots of values out of it.
Yeah.
Value out of it.
Well, it's a beautiful story, because what that represents is your level of impeccability with yourself, because there's a lot of people out there that wouldn't think the way you're thinking, and they're fine with it, and yet you can only be responsible for you. And so if more people live in our world that way, I think it'd be kind of cool. But we start with ourselves first, and so you're representing what's honest for you, and congratulations. The next one you taste will probably be incredibly the most delicious one ever. There you go.
No, it's just like, it's what really helps me is then to look underneath. It's like, why did I do it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's inevitable for me, always coming from a place of lack. I can't afford, I don't have. And, it's like an old pattern and behavior, and that might be thousands of years old.
Yeah.
Because maybe at some point we did grow up pretty poor and everything was rationed. Yeah. And especially the clementines, the mandarin oranges were rationed. So it's like, oh, okay. And as soon as I can see that, I can bring, put compassion to myself, and I'm like, okay, but I can't afford it. As a matter of fact, it would be good if I bought the oranges from a friend of mine who's struggling financially, who lives up the street.
Yeah.
And then, I've made for myself the complete circle, but, we're talking free flow, spontaneously, authentically, as we're having this conversation. Yeah. So I can imagine that would have a lot of value for people.
Yeah.
And hopefully, let me just say one more thing. And hopefully that's how they look at your book. And all the chapters.
Thank you. Well, one person said, if you just read up to that, and I think he said it's chapter 2. I'd have to look to remember. He says, why'd you put it so early in the book? I said, they just, it's where it belonged when I was doing that part. And he said, he says, you should all read the book. He says, but if you don't read past chapter 2, you got plenty out of the book. And he said that after being married 50 years, after reading that chapter, he and his wife looked at it and decided there's a lot of things they tell themselves that they make okay, their withholds or their partial information. He says, but we realized they're lies. So we decided to recommit our marriage to honesty after 50
Wow.
years. So that's an emotional tug for me. It's like, thank you. I mean, I was just like, thank you. I'm so grateful. If people can find something in the reading, I'm thrilled. So I think that's why the book has its journey, and it's different for everybody, and it's doing its thing. It's getting a couple of people just bought it to give to their staff, their executive staffs, their board. And it's like, wow. It's like, that to me is really extraordinary. That people at that level of contribution on the planet, running a corporation, a company, big or small, whatever, being in charge of something that's growing, being developed, and then having the opportunity to look at becoming, at integrity, at risk, at authenticity is just mind blowing to me. So I'm really, really thrilled.
Wonderful. I think it's a sort of good time, good point to wrap it up. And wondering if you have any final words to say, anything that you want to share before we say goodbye for today.
Oh, it's funny. I was asked that one other time, and I don't have. It's funny. I don't have a book in front of me that I've signed to somebody else, but I have a stamp. Whenever I was asking, I talk to spirit. I talk to the inner guides of myself and the outer guides of myself. It's like, because book signings are a big deal. And I knew I'd have book signings. That was already on the agenda before my book went to press. And it's like, what am I going to do? And I watched George. He always was very funny when he signed his books. And Arianna, very interesting when she signed her books, various mentions. What am I going to do? And I got this image of making a rubber stamp that says, "Be you with love."
Oh, that's cool.
And that's what I saw. That's how I signed my book. And that would be a parting word. It's like, no matter who we are, let's just be ourselves with love. And you just can't go wrong. And then if you're doing it honestly, it sort of amplifies. It's like in real life, you can't it's not that other version. It's like, let's just be honest and be yourself with love. And that's always my joy. And that's what I'm trying to do. Do I do it well? Maybe sometimes. It is my intention, for sure. It's my clear intention, Barbara, is to be me with love. And I loved being with you today.
Well, me too. Thank you so much. Brings up so many great memories that we do not want to bother our listeners with.
Oh, but we had a lot of good memories.
We had a lot of good memories. So, Patty, thank you so much for coming on today. Probably this is the first of a few times, and I wish you all the best with your book. Please go buy the book. Give the book as a gift, and just spread the love and the wealth and the art of becoming around, because the planet can certainly use it. So
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And here are the takeaways from my conversation with Patty. Number 1, question everything and nurture what's inside of you, your curiosity, passions, and authentic self. Number 2, practice radical honesty with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. Number 3, use affirmations to claim positive truth about yourself. And number 4, recognize that taking risks is essential to becoming more authentic. Number 5, understand that silence can sometimes be the most honest response. Number 6, create space for your own becoming. It's a lifelong practice, not a destination. And number 7, find freedom in vulnerability and stepping out from behind the curtain. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like my YouTube channel and share this with others. Have a great day. Bye-bye.